Welcome. I'm Raul Lowry Contreras, and this is the Contreras Report, political report. Yes, we're right in the middle of the presidential campaign. Actually, we're within a few days of Election Day. What we're going to do here right now is to discuss the debate between President Trump and Vice President Biden that occurred on Thursday night, because it was Trump's last chance. It was his last chance, I think, to turn, to strike a new path, a path to 270 electoral votes. He did okay, compared to what he did on the first debate. He lost the election, in my opinion, and we're a few days before the election itself. But if he loses, I think the reason is his first debate 3 weeks ago. He looked stupid. He sounded stupid. He looked like a bully. He sounded like a bully. He was terrible. I don't know how many debates I've had in my career, but I can assure you that starting in college when I won debate championships for Southern California, that I never, ever once threw a fit. I didn't have to. I won a lot of debates. I've lost some too, of course. And I won a lot of presentations when people have voted with their money. You know, they bought whatever it was I was presenting to them. But Trump blew it, in my opinion. And that's assuming he lost the election. So I don't know how many votes are going to be cast next week. But I do know this, that as of this moment, millions of people have voted in advance, way more than did in 2016. And these votes look like votes that are not for Trump. Now, if he loses, there's going to be two groups that the blame will be put on. The blame will be put on by the Trump people. The Biden people will exult. They'll exult at these two groups. Seniors. Trump carried the seniors in 2016. He's not only not carrying them this time, he's losing them to Biden. Women. Uneducated, non-college white women voted for Trump last time. The polls are showing that that's not the case this time. Suburban white women last time voted for Trump. It looks like the polls show that that's not the case this time, and Biden is leading by like 23, 25 points. Now, Hillary Clinton, the first woman candidate to ever run for president, she carried those groups, most of them, but by little margins, 4 or 5%, 6%. We're talking 23, 25, 30% in this instance. Black women, it looks like 93, 95% for Biden. Hispanic women, 20% maybe. 20% for Trump. 80% for Biden, Hispanic women. Now, again, let me explain something to you. You're going to hear a lot about the Hispanics in Florida, baloney. The Hispanics in Florida, mostly Cuban, traditionally Republican, they voted slightly for Trump last time by 2 or 3%. But around they're in the Miami area, around the Orlando area, in mid-Florida, there's a huge number of Puerto Ricans. 100,000 of them left Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria and came to Florida because there was no future for them in a hurricane-destroyed Puerto Rico. So they moved to Orlando. They can't vote for president in Puerto Rico, but they can vote for president in Florida. The same people can't vote in Puerto Rico, vote in Florida. My guess is 1 week before the election that the Puerto Ricans are going to overwhelmingly vote against Donald Trump. They don't like him because he treated Puerto Rico like crap, to put it quite bluntly, after the hurricane. Little things you don't know about. For example, there's a law in the United States called the Jones Act that American ships have to go from one American port to another American port. They cannot go to a foreign port. Okay? So they have to stick to the mainland United States of America. When Texas was hit by a hurricane 2 or 3 years ago, President Trump waived the Jones Act so that ships could come from Europe, from Asia, and go directly to Texas with help, or from Mexico, or wherever. Okay? But he did not waive the Jones Act in the case of Puerto Rico, which meant that no foreign ships could take items, stuff, survival stuff, and supplies. Foreign flagged ships could not move anything to Puerto Rico. It had to be United States ships, United States flagged ships with American Union crews. He waived it for Texas, but he wouldn't waive it for Puerto Rico. The Puerto Ricans know that, and they're never going to vote. They're a handful of them are. But I think there's enough Puerto Ricans in Florida to vote against Trump to carry the state. We'll see. Nothing is for sure. I can't predict anything. If I could predict anything, I would go to the Del Mar racetrack and bet horses all day long. I can't predict. But what's happening is that Puerto Ricans that I know of, that I see, are not for Trump. A lot of them in Florida. The Venezuelans, they like Trump because he's been standing up to the Venezuelan socialist government. But he has not been doing much else. The Cuban communists are still there. He's cut off some trade with Cuba and some recognition, and so cut off some travel. But that's about all he's done. The Cubans, the older adults, they're strict Republicans. They came because of Castro, the Castro brothers, and they vote Republican, those that became citizens. Younger Cubans are like everybody else. They're split between Republican and Democrats. So many Cubans will vote for Joe Biden. Will he carry the state of Florida? We don't know. We know one thing. If President Donald Trump doesn't carry Florida, he loses, period. There's no vote counting anywhere else. But he still has a chance as of today, 1 week before the election. So we can't with all certainty say, with any certainty say that Joe Biden is going to win. It looks like he's going to win. Okay. As far as the Senate is concerned, I have a hunch that not as many Republican senators as are being predicted are going to lose. There are some tight races. South Carolina, I think Graham will pull that off. In not Florida, in Georgia, I think the two Republicans are going to do well, although at least one will be in a runoff. The two seats in Georgia are both up for election. But in Georgia, in a vote like a jungle primary, like to have the top two vote getters, if you don't hit 50%, you have to have a runoff with the top two. So I think there'll be a runoff for that seat that is being filled, trying to fill. They're trying to fill it this election. Dave Perdue, the senator there, I think he's okay. Ossoff, the Democrat challenger, is a zero. He's raised a lot of money, but he has no depth. He's a mile wide and an inch deep. Kansas should stay Republican in the Senate. John Cornyn should win in Texas. And that's despite Biden looking decent in Texas 1 week before the election. There's a chance there for Biden. But I don't think Cornyn's going to lose. Cornyn's been around a while, and he's a fairly reasonable guy. Cornyn and other Senate candidates are distancing themselves from Trump because they sense that Trump is going to get wiped out. Susan Collins in Maine may or may not get reelected. I hope she does. I like her. and she's a very good moderate figure. Dan Sullivan in Alaska, a Marine reservist like me. I'm a former reservist. So was he. He was a lieutenant colonel. And he has got a problem up there, but I think in the final analysis, he'll win. He's been a decent guy, and he's a popular guy. He's not an outsider from the lower 48, as they like to say, in Alaska. And my gal, Max Sally, in Arizona, looks like a goner. 1 week before the election, I cannot see her pulling off, and I really like her. I like her because she, while serving as a colonel in the Air Force, the first woman combat pilot in United States history, was serving in Saudi Arabia, and she refused to wear the hijab, the covering required by Saudi Arabians of all women, regardless of whether they're Americans or not. Colonel McSally sued the Department of Defense, and she won. She refused to wear the hijab, and for that, I am a McSally fan. McSally fan. But it looks like she's going to lose, and I don't like the guy that's going to beat her. Okay? It looks like Cory Gardner is going to lose in Colorado, although there's a thing working among Republicans that may save him, I believe. I believe that most Republicans now know whether they're going to vote for Trump or not. They now know that he's probably going to lose, and that all things being equal, that the votes against Trump would go down the ticket and go against any Republican. Republicans don't do that as a rule. They don't like to split their tickets. So they may vote for Trump and then vote for the other Republicans. But Democrats, as a rule, if they like their senators or congressmen, will vote for him regardless of whether he's a Republican. Now, if he is a sycophant of the president, it might cost them. But if they're just good guys that the state elected 6 years ago and that the people like, they may save them. They may vote no on Donald Trump and vote for Biden or Joe Jorgensen, the libertarian. But they might still vote for the U.S. Senator because they've elected him before, not that long ago, just 6 years ago, in Cory Gardner's case. And that might be the case in other Senate races. And I hope so. I really hope so. Okay, that's the political story 1 week before the election. This is Raul Lowry Contreras. This is the Contreras Political Report. I thank you for being there, and we'll be back right after the election when we know who won and who lost. Thank you for being there. I'm Raul Lowry Contreras again. See you next time.